So, over the last few weeks, I spoke about ways of meeting what is called in Sanskrit avidya. The translation is often given as ignorance or also a sense of just not knowing, uncertainty. And I spoke about a few qualities that come up a lot in different traditions, different scriptures. They're sometimes called the heavenly realms or the four divine abodes. And there are qualities that are really useful to bring to mind often, regularly. So I spoke about kindness and compassion that we can bring into the heart, that we can feel for ourselves. I spoke about joy, opening up to that quality of maybe savoring that which is positive, and the joy that is described in the scriptures also often refers to being happy for the good fortune of others. And then the last one of those qualities that is often mentioned in line is equanimity. And the Sanskrit term for equanimity is upeksha. And the first syllable upa means over, and the second syllable iksh means to look. So essentially, what this means is that we're looking over, like you can imagine, we're looking over a situation. And imagine you climb a mountain and then you're at the top of the mountain and you have this really clear and broad perspective, that really clear and broad view over the environment, and you can see everything in balance. So you're not being drawn towards one side or the other, you're not emphasizing one side over the other. There is a balanced picture, and this is what equanimity means. So it's a sense of letting go of wanting, grasping, clinging, holding on tightly to something, or holding on to being ruled by our ego or a sense of ambition or striving all the time. And having a bit more of a balanced perspective around the things we want and like, and the things we don't want and dislike. And then we have the capacity to shape our world, no matter what our circumstances are. So equanimity means that we can let go of the things we cannot change rather than get irritated or upset about them or angry. And know also the things that we can change. And we can become active with the parts of our life where change is possible, where we have agency, where we have maybe a sense of control. And we can accept that there is also stuff that is entirely out of our own hands. And then with that stuff particularly, we can meet those things with an attitude that is supportive and caring, rather than one of rejection or irritation or anger. So I think sometimes we think that equanimity is something that is maybe weak, maybe oblivious to the facts or just ignoring what's going on. But in fact, equanimity means that we're deeply involved. We just know better how to be involved and how to take care of ourselves and how to take care of others within that. So we're setting up this sort of clear and compassionate space within which life can unfold. And when we do that, then we orient towards states of peacefulness and ease and contentment. And this could happen just for a moment at a time. So this is not necessarily something that is there long term, but for each moment, we can open up to the sense of contentment. So just here, as you take your last few breaths in the shape you've taken, be content, just being here, just this, nothing to go for, nothing to get from this. And see if you can take this quality with you into the rest of the practice so that it can inform your practice, so that you can really make it your own, so that you can make it as easy and simple or as challenging and fiery as is useful for your energy level, your mood, and your general sort of body, heart, and mind right now. So start to gently deepen your breathing. And if your knees are still wide, then touch your fingertips to the outer thighs and help the legs up so that the knees point up to the ceiling. And then bring the knees into the chest, and you can squeeze the legs together. Take an inhale, and with the exhale, lift the upper back and head and arms off the ground. Any neck issues, if it feels nice to have some support for the head, then clasp your fingertips around the head. And you can lift the elbows in towards each other a little bit, and that gives you the most support. And then use your abdominals to keep you here. You can always, of course, also have the head down. But if it's okay to have the head up, see if you can curl in a little bit more, lift more of the sacrum off the ground. It can be quite tricky to balance on the spine. Breathe in, and then exhale, release everything down. You can keep the knees in the chest. Take an inhale. Exhale, lift the upper back and head and arms off the ground. And then extend your legs if that works, or stay with the previous version. Now, really press the navel down to the lower back and the lower back down towards the ground. So you're sort of flattening the lower back to the floor. Try and relax your glutes somewhat, and then maybe smile, because it brings a little bit of ease and possibly just a touch of contentment into this. Breathe in. And then exhale, bend the knees into the chest, release the head and the arms down. Good. Take a full breath. Just one more. Breathing in. Breathe out, lifting head off the ground. You can have the fingertips behind the head, straighten the legs. You could have the arms up and overhead if you wanted to really go for it. Breathe in. With the exhale, bend the knees and sit up. And this may not quite have worked out, so feel free to rock up or roll to the side. Separate the legs a little bit and roll the wrists and roll the ankles and change directions. And then bring the legs together, move the shoulders back so the heart space opens. Maybe straighten the legs a little bit more, but the most important thing is that the spine stays straight rather than hunching and rounded. Breathe in, and then exhale, bend the knees and come into a cross-legged position. You could have your shins crossed, you could have your feet in front of each other. Take an inhale and lift the right arm up towards the ceiling. Feel free to sit on a book if it's helpful. Exhale, place your right hand on the floor. So lean over a little bit so the hand can come flat. Soften the elbow, hug the elbow in towards the thigh. Take an inhale and sweep the other arm up and overhead. And then exhale, reach the fingers forward and round your spine. It's a little bit like a cat stretch. Inhale, sweep the fingers back. Any shoulder issues, take it easy. Take small little movements. Exhale, round the spine, reach the fingers actively forward. Inhale, slide the fingers back. The chest will turn to the sky a touch more. Exhale, move the back of the heart back as you round. And then inhale, place your left hand on the right knee and sit up. And with the exhale, start to lean over towards the left, but turn the torso open towards the right. So it's a twist. So you're holding on tightly, the fingertips clasp around the right knee, and then reaching the free arm back behind you if that feels okay. Keep the neck free. If it's helpful to move the head, go for it. And then with an inhale, come back up. And with the exhale, release. Change the crossing of your legs. Take an inhale and lift the left arm up. And then exhale, lean over to the left. Place the hand on the floor, not too far away. Soften the elbow, hug it in towards the thigh. And then with the next inhale, sweep the free arm up and overhead. Exhale, reach the fingertips forward, round the spine. Inhale, sweep the fingers back a little bit more, lift the chest. Exhale, fingers reach forward, rounding. Inhale, lifting the heart, sliding fingers back. And exhale again, round. And then release that hand onto the left thigh. So right hand to left thigh. Sit up tall, lift the torso up, and then lean over towards the right thigh. But also turn the torso towards the left. You could touch your left hand onto the rib cage to support that twisting action, only if it feels good. And maybe then reaching the left arm back behind you. And then take an inhale and come back up. And with the exhale, release everything down. Make your way to an all fours position. And you could have a blanket underneath the knees. And if it feels okay for you, make fists with your hands. So you curl your fingers in, you wrap the thumbs around the fingers, and your knuckles face each other. And then you place the flat part on the mat. If this is too much, you could have the hands flat, of course, but being on the fists can be nice wrist strengthening work. Now keep the spine really straight, so there's a little bit of abdominal engagement to keep the spine from sagging down. Take an inhale, bend the elbows away from each other, doesn't matter how far. Exhale, circle the elbows back, and then straighten the arms. Inhale, bend the elbows out, keep the shoulders broad. Exhale, circle the elbows back, straighten the arms. Inhale, bend the elbows out and try not wing the shoulder blades. And then exhale, circle back and straighten the arms. And then lift one hand, bend and extend your fingers. And then place the palm flat on the floor with the fingers spread. And then do the same thing with the other hand. And again, place the hands flat. Now walk on your hands. Just lifting one, placing it down, and explore sort of turning fingers in different directions each time you place the palm and the fingers down. And you may notice that some directions are easy, comfortable, some directions are impossible to get to. So just explore a little bit, turning out, turning in. It's always the palm that comes down. Then eventually, either have the fingers turned out away from each other so the wrists face each other, or if it feels okay for you, then turn the fingers all the way back. Soften the elbows a little, don't hyperextend the arms. Tuck the toes under, inhale, tip the pelvis forward, reach the heart forward. And then exhale, you can point the toes and round the spine. And then this cat stretch, you're probably not going to go as far as usual because of that different hand position. Tuck the toes under, inhaling. And then exhale to round and point the toes. And particularly as you inhale and find the cow pose, a little back bend, soften the elbows a little bit more. And then exhale, point the toes and round the spine. Inhale, come to neutral and walk your fingers out, then forward, and then place the back of one hand to the floor with the fingers facing the knee again. And for some people, it feels okay to do both hands together, backs of the hands down, fingers face the knees. For other people, it's better to do one hand at the same time. But we're just taking a counter stretch for the wrist in the opposite direction. And you could shift the hips forwards and backwards a little bit if that feels okay. Don't go too far because it can become strong on the wrists very quickly. And then eventually releasing the hands, placing the palms down, spreading the fingers. Check that the wrist creases where the hand meets the forearm are parallel with each other. They're in one line. Tuck your toes under, come into downward facing dog.
And concentrate on something other than the wrists for a moment. So can you soften the elbows? And maybe come back to a mini version of what we've just done on all fours, that bending of elbows out, hugging them back, hugging them in, straightening the arms. So that little rotational movement that gets into the strength of the shoulder girdle, and then just feel the spine lengthening as you keep breathing here, creating more space with each breath. And then as you inhale, walk your feet forward towards the hands. And as you exhale, fold forward, shake out the head. Yes, no. Bend your knees deeply, come into a chair pose, reach the arms up, palms face each other, palms shoulder distance. Draw the lower ribs down and breathe. Feel the power of the legs. Then when you next inhale, straighten the legs, feet hip or shoulder distance. Exhale, side bend to the right, keep the palms shoulder distance. Inhale, come up. Exhale to the left. Inhale, come up. One more time, right side. Come up, inhale. Last time to the left. Inhale, come up. Exhale, release the hands down. Rest the hands on the heart center for a moment. You can even close your eyes. Just checking in how you're feeling. And again, that intention to practice with equanimity, to let this sense of a balanced perspective infuse your practice so it can start to infuse your life. Standing at the front of the mat, open your eyes, release your arms down. Inhale, reach the arms all the way up and overhead. Exhale, fold into a forward bend. Inhale, lengthen the spine, roll the shoulders back. Exhale, step the right foot to the back of the mat for a high lunge. Find your footing, find your grounding, and then inhale, reach the arms up. The feet are about hip distance apart. Exhale, elbows bend, elbows wide. Inhale, twist towards the left in the direction of the front thigh. And exhale, separate the arms out wide. Back hand to back thigh, and if the knee is happy, you can bring the back knee very lightly to the floor. Lift the breastbone up. And then exhale, bring the right hand down opposite the front foot and lift the back knee again. And with the inhale, the left arm circles up and the gaze could come up. And with the exhale, come onto the little toe edge of the back foot and slip the front foot halfway down the mat so that all 10 toes point to the left edge of your mat. Stay here for a moment. Now, this is where you can modify if you have any wrist issues. You could be on your fist here, or you could be on your forearm. We'll be in this shape quite a few times today, so you'll modify as you go along, skip some of the variations as that's better for you. Now from here, release the left hand down, step into a plank pose. Inhale. Exhale, knees down or straight legs, breastbone forward, bend the elbows, chaturanga. And then either cobra, or if you feel ready for upward dog, go for it. Free the shoulders, shoulders away from ears. And then exhale, downward facing dog. Breathing in, breathing out. One more breath. And at the end of the next exhale, soften the knees, look ahead, step, walk or hop forward, lengthen the spine. Inhale, hands could come onto the shins. And exhale, fold into a forward bend. Bend your knees deeply for chair pose, reach the arms up. And then exhale, stand up and release the arms down by your side. Inhale, sweep the arms all the way up. Exhale, fold into a forward bend. Inhale, lengthen the spine, hands could slip onto the shins. Exhale this time, step the left foot to the back of the mat, hip distance between the feet, and then inhale, rise, reach the arms. Exhale, cactus arms, bend the elbows, rib cage in. Inhale, twist towards the right. Exhale, separate the arms wide, back hand to back thigh, maybe the knee touches the ground. Inhale, lift the top arm, lift the breastbone. Exhale, place the left hand down opposite the right foot, lift the back knee. Inhale, float the back arm up and maybe turn the gaze up if that's comfortable. Exhale, come onto the little toe edge of the back foot, slip the front foot halfway down the mat, pause for a moment. Take your wrist arm variation. And if you have any shoulder issues, you might want to at least soon skip some of those weight-bearing postures for the shoulders. And then release the top hand down. Inhale, plank. Exhale, your version of chaturanga. Inhale, cobra, upward dog, unraveling through the spine. Belly in, exhale, downward facing dog. Spreading the palms into the ground, rooting through the base of the index finger. Finding with that a little bit more length and space from the base of the spine all the way towards the crown of the head. That expansive central axis. And then at the end of the next exhale, soften the knees, look ahead. Step, walk, or hop forward, lengthen the spine. Inhale. And with the exhale, fold into a forward bend. Bend your knees deeply and come into a chair pose and reach the arms up. And this time we're going to take it into a twist. Take the right forearm or elbow to the outside of the thigh, of the left thigh. And you can press the left hand in to help you maybe gain a little bit more depth in the twist. And then separate the arms, particularly if the forearm is across, or you can make a soft fist with the bottom hand and drape the other hand on top so the forearms are in one straight line. This is quite a nice wrist-friendly version. Often the prayer hands can be a little bit strong on the wrists. Now keep shifting the left hip back slightly to keep both knees in line, to keep the lower body really symmetrical. Take an inhale, come back to center. Exhale, try the other side. So left arm comes across. You can press the right hand into the thigh to help you move the arm across a little bit more. And then take your arm variation, arms wide, or pressing the top hand or draping the top hand around a soft fist of the bottom hand. And keep the neck long if you're interested in turning the head. So the chin is slightly in towards the top shoulder, and the top shoulder rolls back and the shoulder blade descends down. And then inhale, reach the arms through center. And this time, exhale, interlace your hands behind your back, fold forward. If that's too much, to sweep the arms back. Bend the knees, come into a chair pose. Step the right foot to the back of the mat. If you need your fingers on the floor, go for it. Exhale, elbows wide, lower ribs in. Inhale, twist in the direction of the front thigh. Exhale, separate the arms out wide, back hand to back thigh, maybe back knee down. Inhale, lift the chest. And this time we're going to go into a twist from here. So take the right elbow or forearm to the outside of the left thigh. And you could take the same wrist, hand, arm variation as before. You could separate your arms wide if that feels interesting. You can pick up the back knee again. I find it easier to balance with the back knee lifted, but that's not the case for everyone. And then exhale, look down. Slip the right hand inside the left foot, so you're back in that simple twist shape. And then come onto the outer edge of the back foot and slip the front foot halfway down the mat. Now press into the front foot, really press down into the ground. See if you can lift the back foot off the floor. This may or may not happen. Good. Release back down. Maybe slightly easier, lift the front foot off the floor, hover. And then step it forward and back down. Now turn yourself around all the way to the right long edge of your mat. Fingertips to the floor, toes out, knees are over the ankles, goddess pose or horse stance. So the shins are pretty much vertical. Now, place your back forearm, the one that is closer to the back of the mat, onto your thigh. And lift the torso up and then sweep the other arm up and overhead. Keep the lower body really symmetrical. Just the upper body is asymmetrical. Exhale, sweep the top fingers forward, round the spine, just like we did sitting in a cross-legged pose. Inhale, lift the chest, sweep the top fingers back. Exhale, round. Any shoulder issues, take it easy. Inhale once more, lift the chest, sweep the fingers back. And exhale, round, really lift the back of the hard back. And then swap sides, take the other forearm onto its thigh, lifting the free arm up. And exhale, rounding. Inhale, lifting the heart, sweeping the fingers back. Exhale to round. Breathe in to open the heart, sweeping fingers back. Exhale, rounding. Release the fingers down. Place the hands on the floor. Inhale, plank. Straight to downward dog or take a vinyasa. We all meet in downward dog. You can pause there. You can pause in a little all fours or child's pose. Finding the rhythm of your breath and that sense of contentment to just be here. At the end of the exhale from downward dog, soften the knees, look ahead, step, walk or hop forward, lengthen the spine with the inhale, and then exhale, fold into a forward bend. And then bend the knees deeply and come into a chair pose and reach the arms up. And interlace fingers behind you. You can choose the unusual interlace. So one finger across, fold forward. And then bend the knees, reach the arms forward, step the left foot this time to the back of the mat. You could have the fingers down for this. And then exhale, take the elbows wide. Inhale, turn in the direction of the front thigh. Exhale, separate the arms out wide, back hand to back thigh, maybe touch the knee to the ground. Inhale, lifting the heart. And this time, Parita Parshvakonasana, take the top elbow to the outside of the thigh, make a soft fist with that hand, drip the other hand on top, or separate your arms out wide so that the left hand comes towards the ground, the right arm up. Maybe lift the back knee if that feels more comfortable or interesting. Neck is long always. And then look down. Slip the left hand inside the foot to the floor. Come onto the outer edge of the back foot and take the front foot halfway down the mat. Remember the wrist or fist or forearm variations, and you could stay with this or experiment, lift the back foot off the ground. Then place it back down. Then lift the other foot off the ground. Possibly step it forward a touch more as you turn yourself around, facing the left long edge of the mat, feet out about 45 degrees. So the thighs and knees are facing in the same direction as the toes. This time, fingertips to the floor or take your elbows to the inner thighs. Hands could come onto the shins. Lift the shoulders, let the center of the spine dip, and lift the sitting bones. So you have sort of a tabletop spine. So the spine is parallel with the floor. Some people enjoy shifting side to side a little bit here. And then release your fingers down. Take an inhale, walk the hands to the front of the mat and step to plank. And then straight to downward dog and rest, or take a vinyasa if you prefer. As you reach downward dog, take an inhale through the nose. And then exhale through the mouth, stick your tongue out. Lion breath, we do 2 more. Breathe in. Stretching all the facial muscles. Breathing in last round, getting rid of any tension. And then breathing through the nose, inhaling, and bring your knees to the ground as you exhale. Now, take your left hand further back and the right hand just a touch further forward. And you may just sort of explore what it could feel like to lean forward here and bend the elbows. And that may well be all, and that's absolutely fine. If it feels okay for you, then turn your left fingers out and then back, like we did in the beginning. And then you're going to get that elbow to poke into your rib cage. So it's going to bend and hug in towards the center line of the mat at the same time. And this may or may not work for you. So stay with just hovering and exploring if that's better. Otherwise, leaning onto the left elbow, press down through the hands. If you're happy here, lift the navel up, lift the right leg, reach out through the right heel, flex the foot, and then swap it around. See if you can lift the left leg, just exploring, not expecting this to work in any way. Just see what happens. And then exhale, knee down. Press into the right hand, lift the left hand, and give it a little bit of a circle in both directions. And you could just stay here or lift the right leg, opposite leg, maybe catching the ankle. And if this is working out, then hug the top knee towards the midline of the mat. Keep both elbows a little soft and the bottom elbow hugs towards the center. And then exhale, release. So the left hand is quite far forward and the right hand comes sort of halfway down. And simply exploring a little sort of chaturanga in this shape. And you could do the same by turning the right fingers out and then back. And again, just leaning forward. The more you actually lean forward, the more you'll reduce the pressure on that right hand, because the angle between the forearm and the palm is going to be, or the hand is going to be less strong. Or you bend this elbow and you stick it into the side of the rib cage. So you're in this, suspended in this sort of chaturanga-like form. Maybe lift the left leg. Smiling could be useful. It's not necessary, but always encouraged. And then try the other side. Placing both knees down, press into the left hand, lift the right arm, circle the wrist in both directions, and lift the left leg, possibly catch the ankle. This is simply a counter stretch for the shoulder. Hug the top knee towards the midline, keep the navel in, so there is a little bit of support there through the abdominals. And then exhale, release, hand down, knees down. Take it into downward facing dog. So we'll stay with repetition of what we've previously done, and we're just adding on. So we're layering on in stages, this vinyasa krama practice. Take an inhale and lift the left leg up behind you. Tripod dog, left leg lift. And then exhale, step the left foot forward inside the left hand, come up into the high lunge like we did before. Inhale, reaching the arms up. Exhale, take the elbows wide. Inhale, twist in the direction of the front thigh. Exhale, separate the arms out, back hand to back thigh, maybe back knee down. Inhale, lift the heart. And exhale, now lean way forward. If you have a brick or some books, the fingertips could come onto it. Shift the weight into the front leg and lift the back leg off the ground. Lift the left arm up by your side. Stay here, or you could lift the arm up towards the ceiling and take a twist. So we're deepening the twists that we've already been doing, now adding the balancing aspect. Reach out through the back heel and then look down. Bend the standing leg and step the top foot to the back of the mat and bring the right hand opposite the front foot. Inhale, simple twist. Exhale, come onto the little toe edge of the back foot, shift the front foot halfway down the mat. You could always simply sit down here, maybe with the forearm down, and this is plenty. Or press into the front foot, lift the back leg, lift the back foot, and this time, step that foot in front of the other foot. So you're sort of threading it through. You could stay here or sit down, hug the knees, or take it into a little balance. Get the elbow to the outside of the thigh. Place both hands down. The 10 toes and 10 fingers face in the same direction. Lift the belly in, lift the chest, and then maybe lift the feet. Parshva Bakasana, side crow pose. I have a little tutorial on this on YouTube if you're interested with preparation poses and modifications. Release the feet back down, lift the left arm. Now we're going to retrace our steps, lift the hips. Now this is where it can sometimes be a little complicated. The front foot comes back behind the heel and then straightens and comes to the back of the mat. You could be on your forearm here. Now maybe lift the front foot, maybe lift the front knee higher, maybe get the sole of the back foot flat to the floor, creating that arch through the lower part of the body, and then eventually inhale, come to plank. And from here, exhale, tuck your chin in, come into a high plank. So the space between the shoulder blades lifts. You're high on your tiptoes, the tailbone is long, you're pushing the floor away. Take an inhale, bring your knees down. Now the counter pose, lift the sitting bones up so it's a back bend, and then bring your chest down between your hands. Ashtanga Namaskar. And then bring the hips down, point the toes, lift the chest, reach your arms back, maybe lift the legs, maybe keep the legs down. Work with your own energy level, maybe a little bit of movement, side to side, freeing the neck, and eventually place the hands down. Rise into cobra, could be low, could be higher. The elbows are always close to the body, gazes down. Into downward facing dog. Take a few breaths. You could have a little rest in child's pose if that's useful before we continue with the second side. And then starting again from downward dog, this time lift the right leg up behind you, take an inhale, and then exhale, step the right foot inside the right hand. Find your foundation through the feet. Inhale, lift the arms up. And exhale, take the elbows wide. Inhale, twist in the direction of the front thigh. Exhale, separate the arms out wide, back hand to back thigh, possibly back knee down. Inhale, lift the heart. Exhale, shift the body way forward, reach the left fingertips way forward. Maybe they're placed onto a stack of books. Lift the back leg. Right arm is up by your side. Stay here, come out early, or lift the right arm up. So this revolving half moon, length from tail to crown. And then look down, bend the standing leg, and take the top leg to the back of the mat. Slip the left hand inside the front foot. Breathe in here. Then breathe out. Come onto the little toe edge of the back foot. Slip the front foot halfway down the mat. Modify here. You could simply bring your hips down, enjoy the little hip opening stretch, or lift the back foot off the floor. And then feed that leg through so that the feet come next to each other. Stay here, sit down, or take the little balance. Bring the right hand down, tucking the right elbow into the outside of the left thigh. Lift the hips, lift through the abdominals, shift the weight to the left. Lift one or both feet.
And then come back down. And lift the right arm. Retrace your steps, lifting the hips. The front foot, which is the left foot, comes back and slips behind outer edge of the foot, comes to the back of the mat. You could come to plank and lie down from here if you want to take it easy, or if you want to add some additional steps, lift the front foot, come into this more experimental side plank variation where the sole of the back foot can come down. Inhale, plank. If you have one more high plank in you, tuck the chin in, lift the space between the shoulder blades so that this is the highest point in the body. Really feel the power of the abdominals. And then inhale, knees down, lift the sitting bones. Exhale, chest down, knees, chest, chin. This is a back bend as a counter stretch. And then bring the hips down and point the toes. Let's come straight into cobra, inhaling. And exhale. Shift the sitting bones onto the heels. Sit into a kneeling position with your knees wide and then walk your fingers back behind you. If that doesn't work for you, then stand on your knees with the hands on the hips. And then lift the chest. And if you wish, you can lift the hips as well and walk in. And if you started standing on your knees, you could slip the hands to the lower back and take that camel variation from here. If you've walked the fingers way in before you come down, walk the fingers back and then sit down. Good. Now, there are a few options here. The first option is to lie on your front, relax, and you could work with a little bit of neck stretching, turning the head side to side. Second option, similar, but you're adding a hip stretch to it. I'll show you. So your knees are as wide as they're comfortable, big toes are touching, and then you're shifting forward, you bring your hips down, and that will very likely mean that your feet lift. And once you're lying on your belly, sometimes it works to catch the thighs and gather them further forward. So you keep touching the toes together, and then you can rest the head onto your hands, soften the shoulders, maybe move the hips side to side, but keep the knees really bent, the hamstrings contracted. And this could be a sort of soft hip opening option. And otherwise, the last option is to play with this elbow into rib situation again for Peacock Pose, for Mayurasana. So the arm position here is a hugging in. The elbows come towards each other and they sort of come where the belly button is. And you sort of have to negotiate with what else is there on your chest, particularly as women. But this is the arm position, yeah? And then you're gonna lean forward, which is actually going to reduce the angle between the forearms and the hands. So it's less of a wrist stretch. And then maybe lift legs off the ground if that's working. So, you know, for me, this is a fun thing to explore. It took me many years to get to where I am now, and I'm not, you know, particularly close to the classic position that you see, but I probably will never get there, and I'm not bothered. But for me, it's fun. If this is not fun as an exploration for you, I would suggest you choose a different practice, okay? One of the two other variations. So, palms down, if possible, fingers face you. You could also have your fingers out to the side, and that's okay. Then you have to sort of get everything close together. So your knees are pretty much in line with your fingers as you're setting yourself up. You start by rounding the spine a little, hug the elbows into the belly, close to the belly button. Then roll the shoulders back a little bit, look forward, lean forward, and lift your feet, lift your knees, and breathe. Sometimes it works to have the legs wide, and for some people, it seems very easy to have the legs together, which is the sort of more classic version, straight legs together, but for me, that doesn't work. I blame my very long legs. It's always good to have something to blame. So eventually, come out, come down,
And just sit down for a moment, either in a kneeling pose or in a cross-legged pose. Place the backs of the hands together. Relax the shoulders. Good. So this, repetition is really good with these things. I mean, for many years, for me, it just completely felt like my feet are glued to the floor. I mean, there's absolutely no way I can lift them. And now they come off really quite easily. You also don't have to touch the toes together. You could have the feet a little bit wider and just get feet and knees off the ground. Explore. So we'll do a little bit more wrist stretching. So have your elbow on one side, for example, the right elbow, into the rib cage. And this is only there so that you're isolating the movement into the wrist and the shoulder is not affected. Spread your fingers, reach the hand from underneath, and then rotate and release. Yeah, great, that's it. And then go in the other direction. Reach from above, rotate, and release, and keep doing it a few times. And then release that arm down, and let's take the other side. So elbow into rib cage, and then reach from underneath, rotate and release. The fingers are lightly spreading. And take it in the other direction. So you reach from above and you rotate and release. And then shake out the wrists, move your fingers. Lovely. And then come to lie down on your back. Feet hip distance, maybe a little wider. The heels can be quite close to your sitting bones, but first of all, as you're lying down, just press into the feet and lengthen the tailbone and the sacrum towards the heels. So you lift your hips just barely off the ground and you sort of scoop the tailbone under. So there is a posterior tilt in the pelvis. The pelvis is rotating back, and then release back down. And then have your arms by your side, and you could start again in this way, scooping the tailbone under, that posterior tilt. Shift your knees away from you towards the front edge of your mat. You might feel that in your thighs, a little stretch there. Then press the hands down, lift the chest a little bit higher, keep your feet grounded, particularly the base of the big toes. And then as you move the knees away from you, the chest comes closer to you. If it feels comfortable to interlace your hands underneath you, go for it. If that feels like a useful counter stretch for the shoulders. And the heels could always be lifted. Eventually, release your arms and come down, spread the shoulder blades, maybe rest the hands on the body, feet could be wider, knees could be in. And you could just stay here, pause here, enjoy this, breathe, just the simplicity of that, a sense of peacefulness, equanimity. If you want to repeat the back bend, then go for it, placing the feet flat and scoop the tailbone under. Just for today, explore this posterior tilt, move the knees forward over the line of the toes, then add in the chest, lift the chest. Maybe interlacing the fingers the unusual way. Maybe you want to continue to a full back bend. Just bearing in mind, we've done a lot of wrist heavy stuff, but if it feels okay, you could go for it. I work on my fists a lot when I have wrist issues, which occasionally happens, luckily not too often. And I would even do things like this sometimes on my fists, but it takes getting used to. So this fist work, nice wrist strengthening, but you have to sort of ease yourself into it. And then eventually make your way down. And lift the legs up towards the ceiling. Lift the arms up, separate The legs slightly circle the wrists, circle the ankles. Release the hands down, either on your body or arms by your side. Bend the knees a little bit and just let the legs hang, and see if you can find a place where the legs can sort of hang here almost effortlessly. So I like to bring my knees closer to the space over my lower rib cage rather than over the hips. And that of course means the knees will bend a little more, but then that feels like everything can sort of hang in gravity a little bit more easily. So you could explore this. If you would like to take this into a little half shoulder stand shape, you could. If you have a shoulder stand practice, feel free to go ahead, but make absolutely sure you know how to keep your neck safe. This is a high risk posture, and often we put far too much pressure on the neck vertebra. There shouldn't be any. So I always recommend you use 2 blankets underneath the shoulders for a full shoulder stand, but I don't teach it often. I don't practice it so much anymore. The half version can work better. So if you're interested, legs up, legs active, press the hands down, arms by the side of the body, and then swing the legs overhead, slightly lift the hips. The feet don't have to be close to the ground, just the hips lift a little. You hug your elbows in, you place your palms underneath your hips, the top part of the pelvis, and then you lean the pelvis back so that the torso is straight and at about 45 degrees, and the legs are more or less perpendicular to the torso. Keep your head centered, do not turn the head. And if this is too much for your wrists, come down. So the toes are sort of hanging just behind the head, on that sort of vertical plumb line. And this is quite similar to what we do often, which is Viparita Karani, which involves the back bend, where we support the sacrum on books or a brick. But this doesn't have the back bending aspect. And to come out, move your toes down somewhat so that you can remove your hands. And with control, make your way all the way down, releasing the legs to the floor. And then soften, take an inhale. You can take your arms a little wider, turn the palms up, and then exhale, turn the head to one side. Inhale, bring the head back up. And exhale, turn the head to the other side. Inhale, bring the head back up. And if that felt really nice, maybe do it once more. But if you feel ready to settle into your final shape, then go for it. It could be Shavasana or a seated pose. So just resting comfortably, supported by the ground beneath you. Opening up just for this moment, no matter what the details of the circumstances you live in are right now, but just for this moment, opening up to a sense of contentment, peacefulness, sense of inner balance, one moment at a time. Resting here, releasing, softening, and then I'll bring you out of this in a couple of minutes.
Starting to deepen your breathing. Maybe this is something that happens gradually, or maybe there's that big inhale that just sweeps in and through the body. Maybe add some movement to fingers and toes. If you would like to stretch out, whichever position you've chosen, you could reach the arms up and overhead and take a big inhale to stretch. Maybe even pause the breath at the top of the inhale for a moment. And then exhale, soften and release. And if you're lying down, walk the feet closer to you. And either roll to the left-hand side and come up, or rock up to sit, so that we can all meet in a seated position. And once you're there, place your palms together in front of the heart, Anjali Mudra. And let the head bow down, and just take a moment to notice how you feel, with honesty and openness, without any expectation, just to acknowledge what's present. Take a deeper inhale and lightly touch your fingertips to the point between the eyebrows. Namaste.